huge shock. It was silent. You could almost hear a pin drop when the four of them emerged from the car. You could see Harry get out first, then you saw Meghan, and then the other two royals as well, and it was remarkable.
What a flashback it truly was. The world remembers that electrifying moment when CNN, in a rare flash of honesty amid the royal spectacle, broadcast live and described what millions could already see with their own eyes. "You can see Harry get out first, then you saw Meghan," the commentator said, voice brimming with intrigue, before almost dismissively adding, "then the other two royals." Those other two, of course, were none other than Prince William and his wife, Kate Middleton, the so-called future king and queen, who were supposed to embody the modern monarchy. Instead, in that small, unscripted moment, the hierarchy flipped upside down. The world saw the Sussexes commanding attention, stepping forward with energy, relevance, and presence, while William and Kate faded into the background, looking ordinary, almost unnecessary, like supporting actors in a play they thought they were headlining. Royalists went totally apoplectic. For years they had clung to the fantasy that William and Kate were the crown jewels of the monarchy, the perfect picture of duty and decorum, yet here they were, reduced to the other two. The rage poured across social media, in newspaper columns, and in the endless chatter of palace courtiers. How dare a global news network highlight Harry and Meghan before William and Kate? How dare reality puncture the carefully staged illusion of the heirs as hard-working pillars of the monarchy? But the truth was glaring. Harry and Meghan radiated energy, compassion, and work ethic. They were out in the world, connecting with real people, launching initiatives, championing causes, breaking barriers, while William and Kate too often looked like mannequins in expensive coats, drifting through carefully timed photo ops that required little effort and even less sincerity. This was not just a television slip, it was a cultural reset. CNN gave language to what so many already sensed. William and Kate were lazy, reactive, and entitled, while Harry and Meghan were proactive, ambitious, and authentic. That one line, "the other two royals," rang out like a prophecy, declaring the future of monarchy was not bound to a bloodline, but to relevance, action, and vision. And in that regard, William and Kate were failing spectacularly. The truth is, William and Kate's reputation as the super-lazy royals did not begin with CNN. Long before Meghan entered the scene, whispers surrounded the couple's lack of work ethic. Royal correspondents, often friendly to the palace, reluctantly admitted that William and Kate consistently posted some of the lowest engagement numbers year after year. While the Queen in her 90s was still clocking hundreds of public engagements, William and Kate were barely scraping double digits. They spent more time hiding behind palace walls or escaping to Anmer Hall than actually fulfilling their duties. Excuses were crafted for them. They're raising their young children. They don't want to overshadow the Queen. They're taking time to settle into royal life. But none of it disguised the obvious. They simply did not want to work. And yet, despite this lethargy, Royalists continued to idolize them, propping them up as the future saviors of the monarchy. Enter Meghan Markle, and the illusion shattered. Meghan, an accomplished actress and activist, arrived with a track record of advocacy and real-world hustle. Together with Harry, she rolled up her sleeves and got to work from day one. The projects they undertook were tangible, modern, and impactful. From Meghan's community cookbook that raised funds for Grenfell survivors, to Harry's Invictus Games that continue to transform the lives of wounded veterans, to their joint initiatives in mental health, racial justice, and women's empowerment. They worked, and they worked hard. Their calendars were full. Their projects left measurable outcomes. They connected with ordinary people in ways William and Kate had never managed in over a decade. The contrast was embarrassing. Suddenly, William and Kate's occasional ribbon-cutting ceremonies and awkward small talk at galas looked flimsy, hollow, and lazy. The British press, terrified of the implications, turned its guns on Meghan, launching smear campaign after smear campaign to drag her down, to paint her as difficult, diva, too ambitious. But none of it could erase the truth that CNN had accidentally captured in one unscripted line. Harry and Meghan were the stars, the workers, the future. William and Kate were the other two, the background noise, the relics of a monarchy too slow, too lazy, too entitled to adapt to the modern world. Royalists lost their minds because the exposure was undeniable. For decades, William and Kate had been shielded by a pliant British media that inflated their sparse work into grand achievements. A single school visit was spun into a headline like Kate's tireless campaign for children. A speech William barely stumbled through became future king's passionate words. Yet here was CNN, an international broadcaster with no allegiance to Buckingham Palace, stripping away the spin and telling it like it was. Meghan and Harry were first. William and Kate were the other two. The meltdown that followed was as revealing as the moment itself. Commentators screeched about protocol, insisting that William, as heir, must always come first. They clutched their pearls at the perceived disrespect of acknowledging Meghan before Kate. But the outrage rang hollow because everyone knew the real reason. They were not upset about a slip of protocol. They were upset because the world saw the obvious truth. William and Kate lacked charisma, relevance, and above all, a work ethic. They were the lazy royals, forever trying to coast on titles and tradition, while Meghan and Harry were blazing ahead with purpose and vigour. Over the years, this truth has only deepened. William and Kate's work numbers remain embarrassingly low, despite having staff to handle everything from scheduling to speeches. Their initiatives lack depth, often reduced to vague awareness campaigns with little follow-through. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan, even after stepping away from royal life, continue to outshine them with projects that capture global attention. From mental health documentaries to multi-million-dollar philanthropic donations, from launching new businesses to shaping cultural conversations, the Sussexes have proven they are doers, not posers. And yet the British media continues its desperate attempt to rewrite history. They vilify Harry and Meghan while applauding William and Kate for the bare minimum. But those watching closely never forget that CNN moment. It was not just a flub, it was a revelation. William and Kate were exposed as background figures. Harry and Meghan, whether the palace likes it or not, are the ones who carry the weight of modern relevance. What royalists cannot accept is that the monarchy is no longer measured by bloodlines alone. In an age of global connectivity, leaders are judged by substance, by the work they do, by the people they inspire. By those measures, William and Kate are failing. They are, as critics long suspected, lazy to the core, and no amount of photo ops in designer coats can mask it. The CNN flashback lives on because it told the truth in the simplest of ways. It punctured decades of palace propaganda. It said what needed to be said. Harry first, Meghan next. And then, as an afterthought, the other two, William and Kate. Super lazy, super entitled, super exposed. The fury of the royalists in that moment was not simply about what CNN said, but about what it represented. The shattering of a myth carefully constructed for over a decade. William and Kate had been groomed to be the picture-perfect couple, the gleaming heirs who would supposedly steady the monarchy after the turbulence of Charles and Diana. But while they smiled for cameras and glided into charity galas, the truth of their reign was lethargy. They were the embodiment of minimal effort for maximum praise. They did less work than nearly every other senior royal, yet received glowing headlines crafted by a sycophantic press. The contrast with Meghan could not have been more glaring. Even before joining the royal family, Meghan was no stranger to hard work. As an actress, she spent years hustling through auditions, grinding on set for long hours, and building her career without shortcuts. She supplemented her acting with humanitarian work, speaking out on issues of gender equality and traveling for the UN. She created her lifestyle blog, wrote her own content, and managed a full plate of commitments. Hard work was part of her DNA. When she married Harry, she brought that same ethic to the royal platform. Together, they operated like a team determined to modernize an ancient institution. William and Kate, on the other hand, were allergic to initiative. Their engagements often felt recycled, with little originality or lasting impact. They were the masters of showing up, shaking hands, smiling blandly, and leaving. Their supporters praised them for dignity and restraint, but what the world really saw was laziness cloaked as tradition. The CNN clip cut through that facade. By identifying Harry and Meghan first, it acknowledged where the true relevance lay. The irony is that William and Kate had every advantage. They were groomed from the beginning, with teams of advisors, courtiers, and PR strategists ready to cushion their every step. They had a fawning press corps desperate to sell them as the glamorous faces of the monarchy. Yet despite all of this, they consistently underperformed. Their engagement numbers were poor, their speeches uninspired, their initiatives vague. In contrast, Harry and Meghan, operating under constant media attacks and hostility from within the palace itself, still managed to produce groundbreaking projects. The Grenfell cookbook wasn't just symbolic. It raised hundreds of thousands of pounds and changed lives. Archewell's donations have built playgrounds, supported mental health services, and provided aid for children in war zones. Royalists, of course, tried to spin it differently. They clung to the argument that William and Kate were playing the long game, that they were intentionally keeping their workload light to avoid overshadowing the Queen or Charles. But even this excuse falls apart under scrutiny. How does one justify being less active than a woman in her 90s? How does one rationalize a future king refusing to step up when his entire purpose is to serve? The truth, as CNN inadvertently underscored, is that William and Kate lacked both drive and imagination. The outrage that followed the broadcast proved the fragility of their constructed image. Instead of calmly brushing it off, royal loyalists launched furious diatribes, filling airwaves and newspaper columns with angry rebukes. They accused CNN of disrespect. They insisted that the heir and his wife deserved top billing by birthright. Yet, the louder they shouted, the clearer the underlying insecurity became. They feared the obvious, that the world found Harry and Meghan more compelling, more hard-working, and more necessary. This fear was not unfounded. Poll after poll showed that Harry and Meghan captured the imagination of younger generations in ways William and Kate never managed. The Sussexes spoke the language of authenticity, of empathy, of global citizenship. They were in touch with real people, real issues, real change. William and Kate, by comparison, seemed robotic, stiff, rehearsed. Their every move was stage-managed, their words often hollow platitudes. When CNN placed them as the other two, it was not a mistake. It was a mirror held up to reality. Even within Britain, cracks began to show. Critics started questioning why William and Kate worked so little, despite their luxurious taxpayer-funded lifestyle. The nickname, the lazy Cambridges, gained traction, whispered at first, but growing louder with every year of underperformance. Their defenders argued that raising children justified their absence from royal duties, but this excuse wore thin when compared to other royals who balanced parenting with rigorous schedules. The Queen herself had raised 4 children while carrying the weight of the monarchy through wars and crises, yet William and Kate struggled to manage a fraction of the workload. Harry and Meghan's rise only highlighted this discrepancy. The couple, even after stepping down from official royal duties, continued to produce work that resonated globally. Netflix documentaries, podcasts, charitable donations, partnerships with organizations tackling climate change and mental health, the list grew. Meanwhile, William and Kate remained stagnant. A new speech here, a photo shoot there, but little of substance to match their lofty titles. The CNN flashback became symbolic of this dynamic. Harry and Meghan leading the way, William and Kate trailing behind, unwilling or unable to catch up. The truth about William and Kate's laziness cannot be sugar-coated. They are beneficiaries of extraordinary privilege, living in multiple palaces, shielded from financial pressures, and adored by a compliant press. Yet they squander these advantages by refusing to put in the necessary effort. Harry and Meghan, stripped of titles, smeared relentlessly and financially independent, continue to outwork and outshine them. It is no wonder that Royalists reacted with such venom to CNN's candid remark. It exposed not just the hierarchy of personalities, but the hierarchy of work ethic. To all my curious Sussex family, thank you all for watching, and do not forget to subscribe, like and put a comment. Bye-bye. See you then in our next episode.